So we're going to work on opening of the thighs today. So as I said to some before, we're going to go into Virasana, which is sitting onto one or two firm blocks, depending how happy your knees are. Sometimes it's nice, even if it's quite open, to sit onto two blocks and have it so your sitting bones are down, your calves are drawn out, and even looking back and giving your soles of your feet a little massage and ensuring that you got all 10 of your toenails down. So if you're not as happy sitting this direction, you can always sit with your legs extended onto some height. Or if you're quite comfortable, just one shin in front of the other, drawing your buttocks back, you can do that. So just find the position that's of most comfort for you. And whichever variation, have your hands just resting onto your thighs. And the soft closing of your eyes. And sitting in this position, turn your palms up. So the back of your hands rest onto your thighs. And with them settled, lift your shoulders up to your ears. And actually keep your shoulders continue to be walking up. Leaving that space between each of your ribs, those muscles. And then just softly slide your shoulder blades down. So they're going down the back of your ribs. And allow your shoulders to settle. And then check your hands. Are they still softly resting? A little bit of wiggling of your toes to ensure the connection. And sitting tall. So as you know, the equal lengthening of all four sides of your neck. And the settling and the quietness of the body and the traveling of your breath. With the rhythm of your breath, ensure each is pure. So smooth, I often say it's like velvet. Slow sliding in, expanding out. With your exhale, either out your nose or perhaps releasing out your mouth. Bringing yourselves back to the stillness and peacefulness. As before, lift your shoulders up. And then your shoulders descend down. And almost a sense as your neck can lengthen. And the settling, the start of your practice, but the practice that we all share together. Perhaps you have an intention, a need, a want. And find that lovely peacefulness and awareness. Stay sitting tall, but allow your arms to hang so your fingers are hanging down, and just softly sway your arms forward and back. And then allow them to settle down. It's like a plumb line from your shoulder to your fingertips. With your arms long and descending, turn your palms away. So your palms are facing away, your shoulders together. The slow movement of your in-breath, lift your arms up. Lift them up right to the letter V. So you still have that space. And as your fingers are up and out, your body to follow. With the bending of your elbows, bring your palms together. And slide them down to heart center. And your thumbs just into your chest bone. Whole surface of both palms connected. Draw your left ear to your left shoulder and see if you can keep your collarbones still and level. And this is, again, the listening of your body. Which position of your ear towards your shoulder that finds the sticky spot. And once you find it, stay there, but ensure you take yourselves back to the rhythm. And even in doing so with your exhales, just make sure your shoulder blades are descending, your chest is staying open. And keep the direction of your palms together and bring your head up to center, and we'll just change sides. This time, gravity towards the right, taking your alignment. And even though your shoulder blades are descending down, always the lifting and verticalness of your torso, almost the continual lifting the whole length of your spine with the gentle folding over towards the side, more of a side lean. And your breath. It's like the music of your breath to allow yourself to stay here and now on your mat, in your practice. And keeping your palms pressing together, bring your head back up to center. And lower your arms down, give them a little shake, shake. And then with your arms long, and do the same. Turn your palms away. Keep your arms long and strong. Lift them up to a V, perhaps a little more. Just ensure your shoulders aren't feeling the strain. And bring your palms together with the bending of your elbows, and again, down to heart center. And then keep your palms pressed together, your forearms horizontal. Slowly turn your face over towards the right. And often in doing so, shoulders seem to grow up, so allow them to descend down. And then we'll just change sides. Drawing your face to center, and then the opposite. And then back to center. Lower your arms down and give a little shake, shake. Now in doing so, it's sort of nice to loosen up the knees. So if you're in Virasana, take yourselves down into downward facing dog just to loosen the knees up. If you have your legs crossed or forward, then just take it so that your feet are on the outer edge of the mat with your hands just wrapped around, or your forearms wrapped around your shins. So either walking out in downward dog or just the soft folding forward. Just giving more space to the back of the knees, but also the opening along your spine. And then we're going to take ourselves back into whichever pose you had before. If you were sitting with one shin crossed in front of the other, change. If you are into Virasana, you can stay onto two firm blocks, or perhaps take one out to the side. Just ensure that there's no pinching through your knees. And whichever way that you're sitting, take your hands behind your buttocks, pop them back, both sides, to encourage the growing. Close your eyes. This time your palms resting onto your thighs. We're going to travel into cat and cow. So on your next in-breath, moving your chest forward, but slide your palms back up your thighs towards your hips. And then on your exhale, slide your palms forward towards your knees and the rounding of your back. And sometimes even a little shaking of the head. And then that movement. And knowing with each in-breath and opening, ensure that your body grows up and expands open. neck. So just releasing any tightness, the whole back surface of your body. There's your breath staying pure, full, and rich. Into the cat and cow. If you feel any other movement that feels right, still allowing the forward and back. Maybe a little bit of turning through the torso. This is a great time to listen to your body and the awareness of how it feels and how you can move it. And then with the pattern, once you have released your complete exhale, and bring yourselves back into sitting tall. So just ensure that you finish the circle of the breath. And then from here, either into downward dog or shaking of your knees out. Just make sure you have your firm blocks at the front of the mat. So whichever way, if you're in downward dog, just a gentle downward dog, your knees nicely, generously bent. With your shins, your hands are wrapped around, allow your head to hang. And then we're all going to eventually go into child's pose. Whenever you're ready, there's no rush. Once you're into child's pose, ensuring that the firm blocks are in front of you, and I want your forearms to rest onto the firm blocks. So your hands will just gently drape over the front and your head to hang. And so you have the passiveness through your arms, the weightlessness in your hands, and the ease of the spreading apart of your shoulders. Shift yourselves forward now. We're going to go into table pose. So having your forearms vertical, your thighs vertical, and just do a little adjustment as need be. And from here, we're going to be swaying hips side to side. So just gently, even the bending of your elbows allows the traveling of your breath side to side to be a little bit deeper. And the tightness on our outer hips, even the outer thighs, they're releasing. And then with the pattern, once you've swayed your hips equally to the right as towards the left, keep your hands on your firm blocks, and I want you to take your left leg, lift it, and extend it back. Okay. So always a reminder, toes pointing down, and just take a little internal observation. Are your hips neutral? And ensure that your belly isn't dropping, so drawing the front of your body to the back of your body. And then just stay both hands heavy onto your firm blocks, leg lifted horizontal and extended, and your eyes closed. So even in doing so, all 5 of your right toenails are rooted down the whole top surface of your feet connected to the mat. And then let's change sides. So lower your knee down and extend your right leg back, neutral. Feel as if you're pressing the wall away behind you, and that balance to both weight on equal hands. So sometimes it shifts a little towards right. See if you can have the neutralness pressing down onto your palms. This is the neutralness of your hips, but the extension of your leg. And then lower your knee down. We'll go back into child's pose. Child's pose this time, I want you to keep your hands onto your firm blocks and slide them away. This just encourages more lengthening through the torso. and head to hang. So even though you're moving your hands forward, make sure you're keeping that connection of your sitting bones towards your heels. Keep yourselves long. And even as you're pressing your palms down, ensure that bottom tips of your shoulder blades are being drawn towards your spine, so the bottom tips, and then back towards your back of your hips. Now, shift yourselves forward, and I want you to ensure that your arms are strong and long, and pressing down all four sides of your palms. We're going to go into a downward facing dog. So first thing is your hands press down, a little bit of a magnet drawing your sitting bones back towards your heels. So you already have that lengthening of the torso. And then the lifting of your knees up. Now you can stay in child's pose if you feel better. If you're in downward dog and it's a bit tight, walk your feet much farther forward, having your knees gently bent so there's less weight onto your arms. Or just find a variation, but let's all do a little bit of a walk. See if we can have the movement and softness, the knees, but your head is heavy. Then take a little peek to the front of the mat and slowly walk forward. And as you're folded forward at the front of the mat, just hold on to opposite elbow and then that lovely swing. So make sure you have all four sides of your feet rooted down. And the soft turning is through your torso. But your knees are still softly bent. Now, place your hands onto your hips. Keep your knees gently bent and hinge yourselves to standing upright. And standing upright, your arms hang down by your side. So as you're standing tall, turn your palms forward. Now ensure that your shoulder blades aren't squeezing together. You're just more giving space across the front of your chest. Eyes closed. So stillness of your body, the movement of your breath, the softness of your hands. And even though the ease and peacefulness of standing in Tadasana, still the energy. So growing from your feet up, strength through your legs, hips, and torso. Just ensure that your shoulders are descending, even though the lengthening of the spine. On your next in-breath, lift your arms up vertical to the sky. Now, bring your palms together, the soft bending of your elbows, and hinge yourselves forward and down so your knees can stay soft. And then just hold on to your opposite elbow, and then back to the swing. Even give your head a little shake. Place your hands onto your thighs or your shins, whichever height. Again, your knees just soft. With your in-breath, lift up halfway. And then as you know, the soft descending down. Eyes closed 2 more times. So in-breath allows the lengthening and the growing. And the exhale, the releasing. Washing away whatever's not needed. And then at the end of your third exhale, place your hands down onto the mat and walk yourselves back into a downward dog, or whichever variation you choose. You have the surface of your palms onto the mat. If you're in downward dog, look back to ensure that your feet are hip distance apart. With your head hanging, drawing your nose towards your knees. So you're allowing that torso lengthening the front and the back, and the strength of your legs, even if there's a little bit of a bending if need be, but ensuring there's the growing. And then shift yourselves forward and down into table pose again. And then in table pose, just give your wrists a little shake, shake. So we're going to do similar as we did before, but this time I want you to be onto your fingertips. So onto your fingertips, you can also go onto your knuckles if your fingertips aren't as happy with this. But what I want you to do, as you did before, extend your left leg behind you. So again, you have the equal pressing down of both knuckles or fingertips, but your leg long and strong, and close your eyes. So almost imagine that you're lying onto the ground, so you have the extension and lengthening of the back of your body. Fingertips or knuckles are strong. And then we'll just change sides. So as you lift and extend your opposite leg, in doing so, just your knuckles or your fingertips, the importance of your core strong. And as you know, your hips are neutral. Crown of your head forward, leg back. And then take yourselves back into table pose and give yourselves a little body dance onto your knuckles, your fingertips, your palms. Just a lovely movement. And then bring yourselves back to center. So if you're going to have firm blocks, you actually have your firm blocks, the vertical. And we're going to just start with extending your, you just extend your left leg back. So having the balls of your feet down, so just initial extension and lengthening from the soles of your feet, around your heel, Achilles tendon, and leg. And so even though working on extending the back of your leg, make sure your right hip is drawn back so it's still neutral. And then I'm just going to get you to sweep your left foot forward to take yourselves into a lunge. But with the lunge this time, we're going to go into what's called dragon. So what I want you to do is direct your front knee past your ankle. So you've got a little bit more. We normally don't have it farther, but you have the firm blocks. So I want you to give a little bit more smoothing out of your right hip flexor. So equal weight onto both hands, knee forward, and then just close your eyes. Just a little bit. It's almost like a little bit, your iron is a little bit hotter. So it's giving you a little bit more lengthening. And your head can just be heavy. And then check your shoulders. Just gently slide them back. So even though your shoulders are sliding back, you're smoothing out your back hip flexor. I'll get you now to take your front knee a little farther forward to take yourselves back into the lunge. Okay, so you've got that verticalness. And place your hands onto your knee and press yourselves up. And just roll your shoulders a few times. I'm going to get you to take your left forearm onto your front thigh. Give yourselves a little bit of a leaning. And then take your fingers, your right fingers on your shoulder, and give yourselves a little bit of a side lean. And then come back as you were before. And we're going to do it again. You have the option of keeping your forearm onto your thigh or your hand onto your thigh to lift yourselves up to the side lean again. So forearm or hand, your fingers can stay onto your shoulders or off towards the side. The importance of tucking the top of your left thigh bone back. See how long, starting sort of from just above your knee, your calf, and then that side lean, sort of feeding that lengthening through the whole side of your body. Bring yourselves back to center. And this time, take your right hand onto the floor with firm blocks. And this time we're going to twist. So ensure your hand stays pressed down onto your knee and twist yourselves over towards the left. And as you know, there's a couple variations. You keep your hand onto your knee, your sacrum, maybe up towards the sky. Just ensure more directing of the right side of your ribs under. And your shoulder blades opposed to traveling apart, more together. And then untwist. And ensure that you have both of your hands onto the firm blocks, but the firm blocks vertical. And tuck your back toes under. We're going to take ourselves into rock and roll. Now in doing so, I want you to straighten your front leg, but keep your back heel up and slowly work on the lengthening. Now as your leg is straight, I want your front toes to be up, but your back heel down. So you might need to take your back foot a little farther forward so that you can get your heel rooted. Now shift your weight forward so all four sides of your front foot is down, but your back heel is up. And you can have your firm blocks onto whichever height, and just that traveling forward and back. So keeping your hips level, just feeding into the opening of hamstrings on one side, calf on the other. And again, whichever adjustment, to say that you can have the full surface of both feet down. And the next time your back heel is down, keep it anchored, and then lower your front foot down. So you have that connection. And your head to hang. So again, if it's a little too much, you can take your back foot a little farther forward. Just make sure that the top of your left thigh bone is back into your hip socket. And your head just to hang. Just ensure that there's no strain through your hips, your knees. It's always that fine-tuning, getting into a pose and then listening. This doesn't feel quite right, or I need a little bit more opening here, or a little bit less. I want you to pick your back heel up and step forward to the front of the mat. And as you're folded forward at the front of the mat, go for a walk, just as we do in downward facing dog. And then place your hands onto your hips and hinge yourselves to standing upright. And bring the inner edges of your feet together, your arms hang. Start with the lifting of shoulders up. Just a reminder, glide them back and down, and then still your palms forward and close your eyes. Just comparison of the right side of your body to the left, but still holding on everything to center for balance. In breath, lift your arms up to vertical, palms together, elbows bent, hinge yourselves forward and down. As you're folded forward, take your feet back so that they're hip distance apart. And place your hands either down onto the firm blocks or the mat, and just walk yourselves back into table pose, just where as we had been before. You get a little bit of a body dance, choosing the connection of knuckles or palms, whichever height the firm block. And then back to center. So this time, extend your right leg behind you. So again, we're working on the stretching of the calf. So even though you're directing your heel back, the crown of your head forward. I say a little bit of a magnet drawing your heel towards the mat. It won't reach towards the mat. Your ankle shouldn't be able to bend that much. But sort of that direction. And then shift forward. So take your extended back leg and just step it forward towards the front of the mat into a low lunge. And we're going to go into dragon. So taking your front knee past your ankle. So using these firm blocks to take the pressure of the misalignment of your ankle, focusing more on the extension of the hip flexor. Okay, shoulders are soft, firm blocks at whichever height. And just notice if it feels the other side was a little bit tighter, perhaps a little bit looser. Dragon pose, just a variation of the low lunge. Low lunge is called Anji Sharasana. Bring yourselves back up. And in doing so, taking your firm blocks up to vertical and bring yourselves to that same verticalness of the firm blocks is the same movement of the verticalness of your shin. Okay. Place your hands onto your knee and first bring yourselves up. So you've got that space between your torso and your thigh. And then place your forearm onto your front thigh. And then place your fingers, opposite fingers onto your shoulder and give yourselves a little bit of a lean. Just that initial sort of opening and lengthening. And come down and choose to have your forearm onto your thigh or your hand. And again, the side lean. Fingers can stay onto your shoulder or extending out towards the side. Allowing there's that lovely lunge, but still keeping all four sides of your front foot down. And just see if you can have that full surface of the top of your back foot down. Bring yourselves back to center. We're going to do a twist. So place your firm block down or hands onto the mat. And then turn yourselves over towards the right. And again, choosing whichever variation, hand can stay onto your knee, onto your sacrum, up towards the sky. Working more, again, of the turning of the torso, but still keeping your back hip flexor long. And breathe. Okay, we'll unwind. Have the firm blocks back up to vertical, and we're going to go into rock and roll. Back toes tucked under, back knee up, and then shift yourselves forward and back. So you have to take your back foot a little farther forward so that it can be anchored down. And as your back heel is down, front toes are up, and then that moving forward. And so close to dropping into the pose, you're slowly shifting forward, back, up, down. And then when it feels right, back foot stays glued, crazy glued down, and all four sides of your front foot, and your head just to hang. So adjusting the firm blocks, whichever height need be. And it's a zigzag, so the top of your extended front leg, thigh bone is back. Your extended back leg, hip is forward. So you have to neutralize it. Slowly bend your front knee, pick your back heel up, and just step your back foot forward. And as before, going for a little bit of a walk. Actually, take your hands onto your calves and give them a little bit of a massage. And in doing so, you take your fingers towards your shins, even toward your hamstrings and your thighs. So it's nice sort of the massage. As you know, it gives the awareness of where it's tight. And still, of course, ensuring that you have equal weight on all four sides of both feet. And then as you're ready, place your hands onto your hips and hinge to standing upright. Give yourselves a little shake, shake. So I want you all to have your firm blocks vertical near the front of the mat. And we're going to step back into warrior one. So let's start with your left foot back for warrior one. So as you know, warrior one is not quite as long. Having your back foot pointing towards the front corner of the mat, and just bend and straighten your knee a few times. So in doing so, this is a great time to check that your knee is not past your ankle. Just the importance of your back heel staying rooted. And then bring your palms together at heart center. Front knee bent, drawing your torso away from your thighs so you have that lifting. Now extend your arms out to the side. We're going to go into eagle. So your front leg, your right leg, I want you to take your arms forward and cross your right arm underneath your left and give yourselves a hug. And you can stay into a hug or take yourselves into eagle. So that can be the back of your hands together or your palms. Now, even though you're bind, you got the openness, don't forget about yourselves from the waist down. So your front knee is bent, back heel is rooted, thighs are activated. And if there's a little bit of a wobbling, you can always take your hands out or keep them bound. Just allow yourselves that grounding. So your knee above your front foot, your back leg is strong. And with the balance of the eagle pose, I said this before, you can take your gaze either towards the right or the left. There's not one that is the correct one. The correct one is whichever allows that balance. Straighten your front legs and take your arms out to the side. And then take your hands behind your back and interweave your fingers. So with your fingers interwoven, allows your shoulder blades to slide together. We're going to go into pyramid pose. So in doing so, imagine there's a strap across your hips, or I was going to say your waist, top of your thigh. And slowly, as your hips are being drawn back, lower yourselves down. So you can keep your thumbs onto your sacrum, maybe lifting them up a little higher. You can look more down towards your toes for balance. If there's discomfort, you can always place your hands onto your firm blocks. We're actually all going to eventually have hands onto the firm blocks. So whenever it feels ready, where there's more focus on balance than opening, nicely settle your hands onto the top of your firm blocks. Head is heavy. Let's all have hands onto the firm blocks. We're going to take ourselves into warrior three. So you can stay just like this, heading on your back. For warrior three, slightly bending of your front knee, hands on the firm blocks, walk them forward, and then lifting of your left leg up. So your left leg is horizontal. Okay. Have that equal weight on both hands. Remember, we were doing this as we were in table pose, so you have that leveling of the whole back of your body. Now, we can stay either with your toes on the mat horizontally, you keep your hands on the firm blocks, or maybe taking them out towards the side. Taking them out towards the side, it gives the balance. So your standing leg, I don't want it locked straight, there's just a little bit of a bending, not bent, but just more soft. And now we're all going to go into the standing splits. So take your hands onto your firm blocks. Either keep them on the highest level or lower them down. And see if you can take your nose right towards your knee into the standing splits. Okay. Imagine that it's the standing splits. It's like the figure skaters. That same motion of lifting and grounded. And then just lower your leg down and both of your feet onto the mat. Go for a little bit of a walk. And then we'll change sides. So just have your firm blocks up to vertical. And just step this time your opposite leg back, so your right one back. And just first take your alignment of warrior one. The bending of your front knee, but making sure your back heel is rooted. Place your hands onto your hips and bring yourselves up into warrior one. So your shoulders drawn together, not squeezing together, but drawing them back so that your chest isn't collapsing. And have yourselves grounded from your feet up and extend your arms out to the side. So just as we've done before. We're going to cross this time. So cross your left arm underneath your right and first into hug for everybody. And then choosing the variation from here. You stay into hug, connect to the back of your hands or your palms. So allow that opening through the back of your body, but the growing through the front of your body. Front knee is back, front knee is bent, back leg is strong. Even drawing your belly button a little bit towards your spine to activate the strength. And variation, sort of blending together warrior one and eagle pose. Take your arms now out to the side. Straighten your front leg and then interweave your hands the funny way behind your back. Slide them down and then hinge yourselves forward and down. Choosing whichever variation. Thumbs onto the sacrum, lifting up, or onto the firm blocks. That lovely opening. There's always the balance, so it's sort of the two together. Not just the opening, the balance, what's happening with your breath. So draw a full breath into your nose, a complete breath out to your mouth. Nice lengthening and growing. And let's all have hands down onto the firm blocks. And we're going to travel into warrior three. So first off, the bending of your front knee. So you can pick your back heel up. A little step forward onto the firm blocks. And this as before, but you can keep your extended back leg toes on the ground or lifting them up. See if you can lift them to horizontal, but just ensure you have that ease through your lower back, strength through your torso, but not feeling the strain. And again, whichever variation with this one. Keep both of your hands onto the firm blocks, maybe taking them out towards the side. Whichever variation, remember, both legs are strong. The buttocks are being activated. So strength. And it's the same thing, have the strength of your breath. Breathing into every cell of your body. Whichever variation, bring yourself so we all have hands on firm blocks, and we'll go into the lovely standing splits. So as you lower your head down, lift your back heel up, make sure you're breathing and you're lengthening, smoothing out of your right hip flexor, strength of your left leg, and then lower your leg down. Now, as your legs are down, I want you to take your left foot and cross it in front of your right. So one leg crossed in front of the other. Your left leg, I want you to bend that knee, okay, and your head to hang. Just give the buttock stretch a little deeper. And then staying folded forward, we'll just change. So this time just cross your right in front of your left. And bending of your right knee and opening a little deeper. And then unwind of your feet. And we'll get you to just take your peace fingers to hold onto your big toes. So your knees bent as need be. If it's of a strain, you can keep your forearms onto your thighs if you've had enough forward fold. So if your back isn't as happy, keep your forearms onto your thighs. Just sort of find the variation. Your knees are long, but not locked straight.
Give your head a little shake, whichever variation that you're at. And then as you're ready, take yourselves back into child's pose, completely passive. So your head can rest onto a firm block, onto your fists. Depending on your shoulders, your arms can be forward or maybe back. Sometimes with your lower back, having your fingers back towards your little toe gives a little bit more releasing. And the fullness of your breath. Let's settle in. And press your hands down to bring yourselves up. And shift yourselves forward.
We're going to go into deer pose. So give you the option. Deer pose does not agree with you. You can go into thread the needle. 3 variations. Deer pose, as you know, one shin forward, other shin back to fold forward. You can take yourselves into pigeon pose. If both of those aren't happy with your hips, you can take yourselves into thread the needle. So sort of just find a variation that your hips are opened and they're happy. So pigeon, deer, or thread the needle. And use your firm blocks. They're there to support either your forearms or your head at whichever height. Just a sense of opposed to your body reaching down towards the mat. It's more the mat is lifting up towards you. So whichever variation. If you've chosen to go into pigeon pose, just ensure that your back leg is slightly drawn forward so your hips are more neutral. And into deer pose, choose the distance between your back knee and your front heel. There could be the narrower, but if there's discomfort on your hip flexor, you can take it either forward or back. And then settle down into the lovely deer, pigeon, or thread. And after traveling into this pose, you notice the tightness. So sometimes, as you know, just coming out a little bit and then slowly lowering down. Let yourself to be sort of soft landing and adjustment as need be. And sort of the sense of the sending gravity drawing body down. And there might be an actual movement closer towards the mat, or perhaps just a millimeter down, or perhaps a millimeter up. Just sort of find that sweet spot. You're going to get yourselves to come up. If you're in thread the needle, stay lying on your back. We're going to go into cattail. So cattail is your back foot, draw it closer towards your heel, and slightly turn your body out towards the side. So really feeding of your thread the needle. If you're in thread the needle, just lie on towards your side and draw your heel in towards your buttocks. So sort of just find that variation, either cattail or side lean. And then just settle. So into this pose, make sure your buttocks stay relaxed. Let your head just hang, either lying onto your side or into thread the needle, depending on what's happy. Yeah. If you have a bolster or a pillow, you can place your elbows onto them and just relax. So even though you're directing of your thigh for the lengthening, remember, your back, buttocks stay relaxed. Just allow a sense of a little bit more extending. Adjustments. And draw your heel a little closer towards your buttocks, a little farther apart. Just caring for the knee, but allowing the ease of the opening of our strong quads. Okay. I'll get everybody to take your feet to the outer edge of the mat and just give a little bit of windshield wiping. We're just going to change sides. So first putting juice into those joints, and then choosing to go into deer, thread the needle, or pigeon pose. I didn't say this before, but just care for your hip. You can always be sitting onto a blanket or a pillow. And go through the alignment again. So your front shin runs parallel with the front short end of the mat. Back shin runs along the length, or into pigeon pose, or thread the needle. You're familiar with all of these poses and support. So a pose like this is the importance of the ease. And sometimes all of our minds get busy. So draw them back in to here and now. It allows a little bit more easing of the muscles. Sometimes our mind gets busy and everything tightens. So sometimes if it's getting harder to draw back into the moment, just listen to your breath. At the same time, directing of your breath, doing a little scanning of your body, and enjoying a pose that sometimes we find ourselves counting how much longer. I want to enjoy this. If you can stay like this for days. Allow our hips to open. And we're focusing on the releasing of the muscles. Imagine your skin nice and smooth to soften. Allow your muscles to absorb that softness, but always the support of your bones, sort of layer by layer. There's the support, the outer layers, and the opening on the inner. So let's travel from here, either into thread the needle, so your heel near your buttocks, or if you're in, or into cat's tail, or if you're in thread the needle, just lie onto your side to draw your heel towards your sitting bones. So whichever variation. Really caring for your bent knee where your heel is drawn towards your buttocks. Be kindness. And again, you can lower down onto a firm block or onto a pillow to lower your forearms closer towards the floor, or keeping it up. Just to ensure that there's no strain. And actually, I didn't say this before, but whichever, sort of a completement of this pose, whichever knee is down, make sure that it's not flowing down. So you've got that sort of super magnet, ensuring that your bent knee is not lifting it down. Just to sort of feed into the opening of the hip flexor, as we've done earlier. And just allowing the opening of all of those muscles to the front of your thigh, either lying onto your side or into cattail. And enjoy. Okay, let's all come up. Feet on the outer edge of the mat. Just a little bit of swaying side to side. I want everybody to be sitting upright, and I want you to extend your legs into a V. So often into these V folds, you have your legs as possibly far as possible. I want you to draw it in just a little bit. So sort of take it as far as you can go, like no more, and then bring it in a little bit. So you're giving that opening, but without feeding in the strain. And we're just going to fold forward. If this is uncomfortable on your back, you can lie onto your back, lift your legs open, and open it into a V. So depending which is best for your spine, have your firm blocks. Essentially, I'll start at firm blocks on its verticalness, and then take just a little step forward. So as you press down your firm blocks, it allows the lengthening of your torso without the rounding of your lower back, and then perhaps lower your forearms down onto the firm block or its lower layer. Even in doing so, actually, anything else, just take your hands behind your buttocks and scoop them back. So by scooping them back, it allows more assistance of your hips to tilt forward and the settling down. You're sort of extending and opening your inner thighs. And just make sure that your quads, we've already stretched them, make sure that they're not holding, they're more resting. Let your head hang, give it a little shake. Make sure the back of your neck hasn't tightened up. And then bring yourselves up to sitting upright. So we're going to lie down onto the back. Okay, so use your hands behind the back of your knees to draw them in. I'll get you to have a strap with you. Line up to the back. We're going to do a couple of the movements of the opening side to side and crossing. So have your either firm blocks, or if you have a pillow, that's great. You guys can't see this. Having them by your side, so when you're lying down and crossing over or opening up, you've got that support onto, actually everybody place it onto your outside of your left leg, and lower yourselves down, and draw your knees in towards your chest. Your hands can be behind the back of your thighs, or on towards your shins, and just rock side to side. And then lower your feet down. So take your strap and place it under the ball of your left foot and lift it up. And taking your leg to vertical. Now, it might not quite make it to vertical, could be a little bit farther apart, but just ensure that the back of your leg stays long. And then, as you know, walk your hands up your strap towards your foot. And then your hands slide down to the mat. So you have the option keeping of your right knee bent, or you can lower your right leg down, or halfway. Just sort of find you're keeping the equal settling of both of your sitting bones, and the back of your hips, sorry. And see with the loveliness of your breath. So your in-breath is, I'm going to say, the nourishment of breathing into the muscles. And on your exhale, I want you to sigh and just see if you can feel a little bit more release of those muscles. We've been working quite a bit on the back of our legs, so it should already be extended. I'm going to say a little sense of freedom.
Now we're going to travel from here into the opening. So the first thing is everybody lower your right leg down, your left leg stays up. I'm actually going to give you two variations. It's all take the strap into left hand. Right hand stays onto your hip flexor. And then open your leg out towards the side. So you got those firm blocks. The firm blocks can be tucked into your upper thigh, perhaps onto your outer, whichever height, onto your outer calf. This is the first one, lower down. If there's discomfort, you can stay your leg, your extended leg to the side, keep your knee bent, and just using, it's a little bit not quite as deep, so if you're feeling the discomfort with the legs extended and opening, then just bend your knee. So it's more of that as if you were stepping high. And make sure your right hand stays onto your right hip. So still just ensuring that you have all four sides of your shoulders down. Deep opening, sort of blending together the extension and opening through your one leg, but still you'll feel a little bit of tightness through your hip flexor. Allow your buttocks to release. You got the props, whichever props you have, opening out to the side. Okay. Assistance of your hands at the strap. Come back to center. And we're going to do a body twist. I'm actually going to shift your hips a little bit over towards the right, so it allows yourself to put more weight onto the right side of your body just to cross over. Crossing over, you can keep your crossed over legs here. Let's see if you can get this. Your left leg, the knee can stay bent or extending forward. So it's quite a deep twisting through your torso. So just sort of the back of your head down, back surface of your shoulder blades grounded, turning through the torso, but ensuring that there's no strain. So any discomfort through your spine, or even not having the supports at the height that you need over on the right side for the cross, just find whichever gives that opening. And then your breath, full breath in, sigh on your exhale. And bring yourselves back up to center. And draw your knees into your chest, your hands out in the back of your thighs, or on towards your shins, and just a little bit of rocking. Actually, with your hands on your knees, little movement. Knees forward, back, side to side, circular. And then we'll change sides. So have your props set up onto the right and or left side. And this time, the lifting of your right leg. So walk your hands up towards your foot and then slide down. The back of your ribs, the length of your spine, and the back of your hips down. And then the groin of the back of your lifted leg. And choose a position of your left leg. The knee can be bent halfway down, maybe lowered all the way down. Just sort of find there's this settling in the opening, but focusing more, of course, on the back of the leg. going to go from here to opening. So first start by lowering your left leg down, keeping your other leg vertical, planting your very heavy left hand onto your hip flexor, and opening your leg out towards the left. So your knee can be bent or extended, having the support. And breathe. It's quite a deep hip opener, so be kind. I haven't done a lot of hip opening today, so just ensure that it's not too deep. And we're going to shift. So draw your leg up and just shift a little bit over towards the right so you can land towards your left side and cross over. Again, your knee can be bent, whichever support, or extended to sort of find that opening. Quite deep, so don't go too far. If you're finding it's much too far, then you can just cross over and keep your foot more on towards even your knee, or even keeping your knees together, twisting over. I didn't say that before. Just with any of the twists, listen to your body and which gives the most opening. Use your props. And breath, stay full. Okay, unwind. Have the strap off to the side, hands onto your knees, a little bit of movement. So we're going to do a couple of options. One option is to take yourselves lying down into Shavasana, or actually we're going to be going to bridge pose. So if you're not as happy with bridge pose, you keep your feet on the outer edge of the mat. Just give yourselves a little bit of twist. Or if you want, you can go into the lovely Shavasana. Everybody else with bridge pose, have one firm block by your side. And into bridge pose, again, connection with the back of your upper body. Take your heels in towards your sitting bones, not touching, but at least drawing in. And then take your arms into robot. As you're pressing down on the back of your upper arms, your hips lift up into a bridge pose, even walking your shoulders a little closer together. Your thighs are activated, but more working on directing of the front of your hips up. Make sure that your chin is not being drawn towards your chest. I want the equal length of all four sides of your neck. Feet down, front of your body long. Make sure your buttocks aren't gripping. Big breath in. Sigh out. In. From here, lift your heels up and lower your spine down. And then all four sides of your feet stay grounded. And just a little bit of swaying side to side. We're going to go into this pose again using the firm blocks. I'm going to give you a couple of variations. We're all going to go initially into robot. Okay. So take yourselves all aligned again. Back of the arms anchored down. And then as you press the back of your upper arms down, your hips lift up into that bridge pose. Again, neck stays long. Sure your knees haven't flared up. You can stay like this, or if you want, you can interweave your fingers behind your back to walk your shoulders a little closer together. Or you can always settle your sacrum down onto that firm block. Actually, I'm going to say we're all going to be eventually having the back of the hips, sacrum onto the firm blocks. So you choose how long you stay with your hands interwoven. You can interweave in both ways. And then eventually settling down into bridge pose. Or you can sway your knees side to side, or take yourselves into Shavasana, or any pose that you want. When I say you almost need, do that. And it's all ensure that we're into a very passive bridge pose. So settling at the back of your hips, if not already. And I say whichever variation with this one. So you can keep your knees softly bent, maybe taking them a little farther back or a little farther away. Whichever adjustment, to give yourselves the fullness of the breath, the fullness and length of your body. And again, we'll all be traveling down into Shavasana. So listen to your body and what you want. You can stay into bridge pose a little longer, legs extended or not, or take the firm block away and extend your legs forward. So you're laying long and lean. And if you've chosen, or when you choose to go into Shavasana, make sure your feet are a little bit farther apart. And if you have a blanket, drape it over your body. Go into, you guys have all done lots. You can always go into happy baby if you wanted, extension. This is a time, just remind yourself it's your practice and what you want, your body needs, and do all of them. And eventually, the sense of your body just melting back down onto your mat, the warmth of a blanket or the air around. The leveling at the front of your body and the softness in the back. And smoothness across your face, the resting of your tongue, the settling of your eyes. Shavasana. Smooth breath in and your awareness. Complete breath out. Sense of freedom. And drawing your breath a little deeper. And in so, a little bit more release. Movement hands, like toes and fingers, any movement that your body needs. Eventually rolling over onto your right side and drawing your knees in towards your chest. And then softly press your left hand down to bring yourselves into sitting upright. And sit in a position of comfort. Your legs crossed or extended forward. And drawing your buttocks back. Lifting of your shoulders up and down. As your shoulders are down, ensure your eyelashes are also softly down. Bring your palms together and into heart center. A soft bowing of your head. And the beautifulness of poetry. A flower does not have to do anything to be of service. It only has to be a flower. That is enough. A human being, a true human being, is enough to make the whole world rejoice. I wish you namaste.